My family mocked my $5 inheritance until they saw the hidden will. I'm Sophie Bennett, 29, sitting in a law office on Broad Street in Charleston, South Carolina, feeling like I don't belong. The room smells of polished wood and old money, with a long mahogany table under a chandelier that scatters light across the walls. My family, the Harpers, are here. Dee, Evelyn, Connor, Grace, dressed in tailored suits and silk scarves, their eyes sharp, waiting for the will of my father, Henry Bennett, to be read. I'm in a thrift store black dress, my only pair of nice shoes pinching my toes. I keep twisting the silver ring on my thumb, a habit when I'm nervous. I didn't want to come. My one-bedroom apartment in Mount Pleasant, with its cluttered desk of sketch pads and paint tubes, is more my speed. But I hope Dad might have left me something small, maybe his old sketchbook from when he used to doodle sailboats. He died 2 weeks ago at 70 from a heart attack, and I still can't believe he's gone. We weren't close, not really, but he was the only one in the family who didn't make me feel like a failure for choosing art over their real estate empire. Charles Whitaker, Dad's lawyer, walks in, a tall man with a gray suit and a face that doesn't smile. He carries a leather folder and the room goes quiet. Dee, Evelyn, my father's older sister, sits at the head of the table, her silver hair pinned up, her pearls gleaming. She's always been the family's queen, running things since my grandparents passed. Connor, her son, leans back in his chair, smirking, his Rolex catching the light. Grace, his sister, fidgets with her phone, glancing at me with a half smile that feels forced. Whitaker starts reading. Dee, Evelyn gets the beach house on Isle of Palms. No surprise. She's spent every summer there. Connor inherits Dad's yacht, a 50-footer he's always bragged about. Grace gets a collection of antique jewelry, her eyes lighting up. I wait, my stomach nodding, hoping for that sketchbook, or maybe a letter. Then Whitaker clears his throat and looks at me. To my daughter, Sophie Bennett, I leave the sum of $5. The room freezes for a second, then Connor laughs, a sharp bark that makes me flinch. $5? What's that, Sophie? A latte at Starbucks, he says, slapping the table. Dee, Evelyn doesn't laugh, but her lips curl in a way that stings more. Perhaps this will teach you the value of a real career, she says, her voice like a cold wind off the battery. Grace looks down, her fingers tightening around her phone. My face burns. $5. It's not the money, it's the message. I'm worth less than the gardener who got 1,000. I want to run, to hide in my apartment and bury myself in my sketch pads. But I stay, my hands shaking under the table. I think of Dad, how he'd sometimes call just to ask about my latest drawing, his voice warm but distant. Was that all a lie? Whitaker hands me a check, his eyes avoiding mine. "You'll need to sign some papers before you go, Miss Bennett," he says quietly. I nod, barely hearing him. Connor's still chuckling and Dee, Evelyn's already talking about the beach house. I feel small, invisible, like I'm not even here. I'm about to stand when I catch Whitaker's glance. Something in his eyes, a flicker of, what, pity? No, something else. I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining it. I twist my ring again, my thoughts a mess. Should I just leave? What's the point of staying? Hey, if you're listening, where are you from? Drop it in the comments. And if you like family drama, hit subscribe. I need to tell you what happened next, because it changed everything. Sitting there in that cold law office, the $5 check burning a hole in my purse, I can't help but drift back to how I got here. Growing up a Bennett in Charleston was like living in a glass house. Everyone watching, judging, expecting you to shine. Our family's name is on half the restaurants and condos along King Street, a legacy built on real estate and Southern charm. But I never fit in. I was the kid with paint on her hands, sketching palmetto trees instead of learning profit margins. Our house in south of Broad was a 3-story beauty, all white columns and wrought iron balconies, the kind you see on postcards. My room was on the 3rd floor, a little attic space with slanted ceilings and a window overlooking the harbor. I'd sit there for hours drawing the shrimp boats or the way the sunset turned the water gold. Mom used to say I had an artist's soul. but she died when I was 12, and after that, the house felt empty, even with all its chandeliers and antique rugs. Dad, Henry Bennett, was the one who kept me going. He wasn't like Dee Evelyn, who'd lecture me about practical choices over low-country shrimp and grits at family dinners. When I was 10, he gave me my first set of watercolor brushes, the wooden handles smooth in my hands. "Sophie," he said, his gray eyes soft, "the world needs people who tell stories with color. Don't let anyone take that from you." I clung to those words, even when he got busier, swallowed up by board meetings and contracts. He'd come home late, smelling of cigar smoke and bourbon, and I'd wonder if he still meant it. By high school, the family made it clear where I stood. Connor, my cousin, was the golden boy, interning at Harper Enterprises before he could drive. He'd tease me at reunions, calling me Picasso with a smirk, like my sketches were a joke. Grace, his sister, wasn't as mean, but she'd give me these pitying looks, like I was a stray dog. Dee Evelyn was the worst. "Illustration is a hobby, Sophie," she'd say, her voice sharp as she sliced her she-crab soup. "You're a Bennett. Act like one." I think she was scared I'd tarnish the family name, or maybe that I'd remind her of what she gave up. I overheard her once, years ago, talking about a play she wrote in college, but she never mentioned it again. I left home at 18, renting a tiny apartment in Mount Pleasant with creaky floors and a leaky sink. I worked as a barista, then a freelance illustrator, doing book covers and local ads. It wasn't glamorous. My desk was a thrift store find, always cluttered with coffee mugs and half-finished sketches. But I loved it. I started showing my work at the Halsey Institute, small exhibits that barely paid. Sometimes I'd spot a man in a tweed cap, lingering near my paintings, but he'd vanish before I could say hi. Later, I realized it was Dad. Why didn't he talk to me? Was he ashamed? Proud? I don't know. Last year, he called out of the blue, his voice rough. "Saw your show at Halsey, Sophie. That painting of the Ravenel Bridge. It's got soul." I wanted to ask why he never stayed, why he let the family treat me like an outsider, but I just said, "Thanks, Dad," and we hung up. Now he's gone, and that $5 check feels like a slap. Did I misread him all along, or was he trying to tell me something even now? The law office feels too quiet now, like the air's holding its breath. My family's gone. Dee Evelyn's heels clicking down the hall, Connor's laugh fading, Grace trailing behind with her phone. I'm still at the table, the $5 check in my purse like a weight. Charles Whitaker, the lawyer, stands by the door, his gray suit blending into the wood paneling. He's holding a cream-colored envelope sealed with red wax, and his eyes have that look again. Not pity, but something heavier, like he knows something I don't. "Miss Bennett," he says, his voice softer now, "before you go, this is for you." He hands me the envelope, and I see my name, Sophie, written in Dad's familiar scrawl, the kind he used on birthday cards. My hands shake as I take it. The wax seal has a tiny anchor, Dad's old signet ring. I glance at Whitaker, confused, but he just nods. "Take your time. I'll be outside." He leaves, the door clicking shut. I'm alone with the envelope, my heart pounding. Part of me wants to rip it open. Part of me's scared it'll just hurt more. What if it's an apology for the $5? Or worse, nothing at all? I twist my thumb ring, stalling, then break the seal. Inside are 2 pages. Thick stationery that smells faintly of Dad's cologne, sandalwood and salt. "Dear Sophie," it starts, and I'm already blinking back tears. If you're reading this, the will reading's over, and you're probably angry, hurt, or both. I'm sorry for the $5. It wasn't meant to wound you. It was a shield, a way to protect what comes next. I stop, my breath catching. "Protect what?" he goes on. "You're my true heir, Sophie. I've left you $250 million, my majority stake in Harper Enterprises, and my house on Sullivan's Island. The $5 was to keep the family from suspecting, to let them show their true colors without knowing you hold the reins." My hands tremble, the paper crinkling. $250 million? Sullivan's Island? I read it again, thinking I've misread, but the words don't change. Dad writes, "You're the only one who never let money blind you. Your art, your stubborn heart. It's what makes you a Bennett, not their bank accounts. I've been buying your paintings for years, Sophie, under the name Thomas Reed. They're in the Sullivan's Island house. I hope you'll forgive my silence. I wanted you to build your life on your own terms, but I couldn't let you struggle alone." I'm crying now, tears smudging the ink. Smudging. Dad was Thomas Reed? The buyer who snapped up my Halsey Institute pieces? The one I thought was some eccentric collector? I feel a rush of love, then anger. Why didn't he tell me? Why make me feel so small today? I wipe my eyes, trying to focus. He ends with, "Use this to tell your story, Sophie. Money's a tool, not a master. I trust you to know the difference. Love, Dad." I sit there, the letter in my lap, my mind a mess. I'm rich, insanely rich, but it's not the money that hits hardest. It's Dad's faith in me, his secret pride. I think of his voice, rough from those late-night calls, and I want to hug him, yell at him all at once. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm just a painter with a leaky sink and a stack of unpaid bills. Can I even handle this? Whitaker knocks softly and steps back in. "Everything all right?" he asks, his voice gentle. I nod, then shake my head, laughing a little because I don't know what I feel. "He was Thomas Reed," I say, my voice cracking. Whitaker smiles just a little. "Your father was a complicated man. He planned this carefully. Shall we discuss the next steps?" I fold the letter, tucking it into my purse next to the check. I'm not ready, not even close, but something in me shifts. Maybe I'm not as invisible as I thought. I'm driving to Sullivan's Island the next morning, the letter from Dad still folded in my purse, my head spinning. Charleston's morning haze clings to the marshes as I cross the Ravenel Bridge, the low country air thick with salt and pine. I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but Whitaker gave me a key, a small brass one, heavy for its size, and an address. "Your father's house," he called it, like it's no big deal. I keep thinking about Dad's words. They're in the Sullivan's Island house. My paintings, his secret. The house is at the end of a quiet street, a low-slung bungalow with white clapboard and a wraparound porch, half hidden by live oaks draped in Spanish moss. It's not flashy like the South of Broad mansion, but it feels personal. The front door creaks, and inside, it smells of cedar and old books. The living room has wide windows facing the ocean, sunlight spilling across hardwood floors. I notice small things, a chipped coffee mug on a side table, a stack of art magazines, a faded photo of me at 10, holding a paintbrush, taped to a bookshelf. My chest aches. This was Dad's place, his escape. Then I see the paintings. My paintings. They line the walls of a back room, a makeshift gallery with skylights and soft track lighting. There's my first Halsey Institute piece, a watercolor of Charleston's Battery at dusk, and others I barely remember. Sketches from college, book cover drafts, even a goofy portrait of a pelican I did for a local cafe. They're framed, carefully hung, like treasures. I run my fingers along one, a scene of Folly Beach, and find a note taped to the back in Dad's handwriting. Sophie's light captures what words can't. June 2023. I'm crying again, but it's not just sadness. It's something warmer, like relief. On a desk in the corner, I find his journal, leather-bound, dog-eared. I hesitate. Feels like snooping, but I open it. Pages are filled with notes about my work, but also his own sketches. I didn't know Dad drew, not seriously. There are charcoal drawings of the harbor, rough but soulful, and one of Mom, her smile soft. A note reads, "Gave this up for the family. Don't let Sophie do the same." I sit on the floor, journal in my lap, trying to piece him together. He was an artist like me, but hid it. Why? To keep the Harpers happy? To protect his legacy? I wander back to the porch, staring at the ocean. The money, $250 million. It's real. Whitaker confirmed it. Bank accounts, stocks, the company. I could pay off my student loans, fix my leaky sink, maybe buy a real desk. But it's too much. I'm scared I'll mess this up, turn into someone I don't recognize. I think about Dee Evelyn, how she'd kill to know this, and Connor probably polishing his yacht. Should I tell them? Not yet. I don't trust them, not after the way they laughed. Whitaker calls later, asking to meet about next steps. I tell him I want to start something, a gallery maybe in the French Quarter for artists like me who can't afford rent, let alone a show. It's a half-formed idea, but it feels right, like something Dad would have liked. We can explore that, Whitaker says, his voice steady. Your father would be proud. I'm not so sure. I'm still the girl who spills coffee on her sketch pads, who thought $5 was her worth. But standing in this house, surrounded by my art and Dad's secrets, I feel a spark. Maybe I can do this, or maybe I'll crash and burn. I don't know. I take the journal home, leaving the paintings for now. They're safe here, like Dad wanted. A week after finding Dad's house, I'm back in south of Broad, walking up the steps to Dee Evelyn's mansion for a family dinner. The invitation came in a crisp envelope, her handwriting all formal, saying it's to discuss Henry's memorial. I know better. She's staking her claim as the new head of the family, and I'm curious, maybe too curious, about what they'll say when they see me. I'm still reeling from the letter, the money, the paintings. I haven't told anyone, not even my best friend Lila, who'd probably scream and drag me to King Street for a shopping spree. I twist my thumb ring, my stomach churning. Should I even be here? The mansion's double doors open to a foyer with a crystal chandelier and a curved staircase. The air heavy with magnolia from a vase on the console table. It's the kind of place that feels like a museum, not a home. Dee Evelyn greets me, her navy dress impeccable, her smile tight. Sophie, so good you could make it, she says, but her eyes scan me. My simple black dress, my scuffed flats, like she's tallying my flaws. I notice her hands, knuckles white around a glass of sweet tea, like she's bracing herself. She's always been about control, but I wonder if she's scared, deep down, of losing it now that Dad's gone. Connor's in the dining room, swirling bourbon in a glass, his tie loosened. He's got that smug look, but there's a tension in his jaw, like he's waiting for something to prove he's still the star. Grace is there too, in a cream blouse, stirring her iced tea with a silver spoon. She gives me a small wave, her nails painted coral, but her eyes dart away fast. The table's set with heirloom china, a spread of low country classics, shrimp and grits, okra stew, cornbread steaming in a cast iron skillet. It's Charleston through and through, but it feels staged, like we're playing family for an audience that isn't here. We sit, and the talk starts light. Weather, the memorial's venue. Then Connor leans forward, his grin sharp. So, Sophie, how's the art life? $5 go far? He laughs, and I feel that old sting, but it's different now. I know what Dad left me. I could tell them, watch their faces drop, but I don't. Instead, I sip my tea and say, sometimes small things lead to bigger ones, Connor. He blinks, thrown off, and I feel a flicker of satisfaction. Maybe I'm not as weak as I thought. Or maybe I'm just mad. Dee Evelyn cuts in, her voice smooth but probing. Sophie, you left the will reading so quickly. Did Charles give you anything else? A keepsake, perhaps? Her eyes are sharp, like she's fishing. I think of the letter, the house, the millions, and my heart races. She's not just curious, she's worried. Maybe she senses Dad didn't trust her as much as she thought. I shrug, too casual, and say, just some paperwork. It's a lie, and I'm not even sure why I say it. Guilt hits me, but I push it down. I don't owe her the truth, not after how she treated me. Grace speaks up, her voice softer. Sophie, if you ever want to change, we could find you a spot at the company. Maybe marketing? You're creative. She sounds genuine, but it stings. She thinks my art's a dead end. I look at her, wondering if she's trying to help or just parroting her mom. I'm good, Grace, I say. sharper than I mean to. I like my life. She flushes, and I feel bad, but not enough to take it back. The dinner drags on, and I'm half listening, my mind wandering to the Sullivan's Island house, Dad's journal, the gallery idea I mentioned to Whitaker. Can I really do this? Run a company? Open a gallery? I'm not like them, all polished and sure. Connor's talking about the yacht now. Dee Evelyn's planning the memorial like it's a gala. They don't see me, not really. But as I leave, Dee Evelyn catches my arm. "Sophie," she says low, "if there's more to Henry's will, you'd tell us, wouldn't you? We're family." Her voice is almost pleading, and for a second I see her, alone, clinging to a legacy that's slipping. I nod, not trusting myself to speak, and slip out into the humid night, the cicadas loud in my ears. It's been a year since the will reading, and I'm standing in the Sophie Bennett Gallery on King Street, Charleston, watching people mill around under soft lights. The space used to be a dusty storefront, its windows papered over, but now it's alive. White walls, polished pine floors, and my paintings hung alongside Dad's and a few from young artists I've been mentoring. The air smells of fresh paint and the lavender candles I lit to calm my nerves. My hands are sweaty, and I keep smoothing my navy dress, a new one I bought because Lila said I should look the part. I don't know what that means, really. I still feel like the girl with paint under her nails, not a gallery owner. The opening's a big deal. Local papers like the Post and Courier are here, and so are folks from the Halsey Institute. Dad's sketches, black and white charcoals of Charleston's docks and gullah women weaving sweetgrass baskets, are the main draw. I found them in his Sullivan's Island house, tucked in a portfolio with a note, "For Sophie, if she ever wants to share." I wasn't sure at first, felt like exposing him. But it's right. Letting people see the artist he hid. My work's here too. A new series of low country marshes, all misty greens and golds. The young artist's pieces, bright abstracts, quiet portraits, fill a side room, their nervous smiles mirroring mine. The family knows now. The SEC filings went public a month ago, outing me as Harper Enterprises' majority shareholder and Dad's heir. Dee Evelyn called first, her voice syrupy, saying, "Sophie, dear, we should talk. There's been a misunderstanding." I could hear the strain, her need to stay on top, like she spent her life proving she's the family's anchor. I said I'd call back, but I haven't. Connor sent an email, all business, suggesting we collaborate on the company. I almost laughed. He laughed at my $5, and now he wants in. I replied politely, stalling. I'm not ready to face them, not like that. Grace is different. She showed up at my Mount Pleasant apartment a few weeks ago, holding a bottle of wine and an apology. I was jealous, she admitted, her coral nail polish chipped, her eyes red. You did what I never could, followed your heart. I didn't know what to say. I'd always thought she had it all, fancy job, perfect life. We've been talking since, not best friends, but something realer than before. She's here tonight in a yellow dress, studying Dad's sketches with a look I can't quite read. Regret, maybe. I framed the $5 check, hung it near the entrance with a small plaque. Worth isn't in dollars. People keep asking about it, and I just smile. It's my reminder, Dad's reminder, that I'm more than what they thought. The gallery's my way of proving it, not to them, but to myself. I've set up a fund through the company to help artists with rent, supplies, whatever they need to keep creating. It's not perfect. I've already messed up some paperwork, and Whitaker had to fix it, but it's a start. I step outside for air, the King Street buzz, street musicians, horse carriages, grounding me. I think about Dad, how he'd love this, maybe stand in a corner with that quiet smile of his. I miss him, but I'm not angry anymore. He gave me a chance to be me, not a Harper, not a puppet. I'm still scared, though. What if I lose myself in all this money, this power? What if I'm not enough? The night's a success. People buy paintings, the young artists get offers, and I overhear someone call me a new voice in Charleston's art scene. It feels good, but but weird, like I'm wearing someone else's skin. Grace finds me later, holding 2 glasses of wine. "You did this, Sophie," she says. "Dad would have been proud." I nod, my throat tight. I hope so. I really do. The gallery opening's over, and I'm standing alone on King Street, the Charleston night, warm and humming. Horse carriages clop by, their lanterns swaying, and a street musician's guitar drifts from a corner. The air smells of jasmine and fried oysters from a nearby restaurant. My dress feels too tight now, and my flats are dusty from pacing the gallery floor. I'm exhausted, but my mind won't stop. I keep seeing Dad's sketches, the way people looked at them, like they saw him, really saw him. I wonder if he ever dreamed of a night like this, or if he was too busy being a Bennett to let himself hope. It's been a year since that awful will reading, since I thought $5 was all I was worth. Now I've got millions, a company, a gallery, and this weight I can't quite name. I'm proud of what I've done. The Sophie Bennett Gallery is real, helping artists who remind me of myself, scraping by with big dreams. But I'm also scared. Money changes things. I've seen it in Dee Evelyn's calls. Her voice all fake sweet, like she's rewriting history to stay close. Connor's emails, acting like we're partners. Even Grace, who's trying, but I catch her looking at me like I'm someone new. Will I change too? Turn into someone who cares about stock prices more than sunsets? I think about Dad's letter, his warning. Money's a tool, not a master. I want to believe I can stay me, Sophie, who paints marshes and spills coffee on her sketch pads. But it's hard. I've already caught myself checking my bank balance too often, wondering if I should buy a nicer apartment. What if I forget why I started this? I lean against a lamppost, watching the city glow, and feel small again, like that girl in the law office twisting her ring. Maybe that's okay. Maybe being a little lost means I'm still human. I want to ask you something. If you woke up with millions tomorrow, what would you do? Would you chase your passion, help others, or would the money pull you somewhere else? I'm figuring it out myself, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If this story hit you, give it a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Oh, and tell me where you're from. I'm curious. For me, Charleston's home, and tonight, with the gallery lights still burning behind me, it feels like a place I'm starting to belong. Your worth isn't in dollars, you know. It's in the story you tell with your life. I'm trying to tell mine, one messy step at a time.